Hi, everyone, and welcome to El Camino People, the podcast season 2. So, we are finally almost over the 100 episode. We did about 46 to 47 episodes in English last year, the same amount in Spanish, and then we hope to make it even more this year. But today we have a great pilgrim. We have a dear friend that we met not so long ago, but it's something that we haven't had before in the podcast. It's the first, as we call it here in Spain, bicigrino, no, the pilgrims that go by bike. And I say pilgrims because I really believe that everyone that goes to Santiago, no matter what is the way they're doing, it's, being a pilgrim or not, it's why you're going it, and the way you're going it is just a different pleasure that we all have. So hi, Kempton, and thank you to being today with us. Thanks for all the problems issues we have with setting up the time and everything, and thank you for being such an early notice with us. I know that you wake up early today to watch the Tour de France, but this will be released in September. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Seattle, and I just saw Mark Cavendish tie Eddie Merckx. It's a good
So
day.
a great way to start the Friday, no?
Yes, correct.
So we always start with every pilgrim with a 1-minute questionnaire. As I told you before, this is the whole idea is an icebreaker. We have a set of 40 questions. Nobody has ever make it till the 40, so maybe you can be the first one. Bikers are faster than pilgrims, but we'll see how it goes. So are you ready for that?
I'm ready.
Remember, whatever comes to your mind, don't overthink it, just throw it away, okay? Let's go for it. Your first Camino.
2005.
How many Caminos?
20.
1 month to ride.
2 weeks.
A private hostel.
Hotels.
1 city.
That I love. Rabanal del Camino.
1 meal.
1 meal. Well, of course, just tortilla and café con leche.
A memory.
A memory is every single time that I go down the stairs at the cathedral and hear those bagpipes.
Your favorite stage.
My favorite stage is the stage to El Cibrero.
A happy moment.
Every time I go down those stairs and hear the bagpipes.
1 color.
One what?
1 color.
1 color, blue.
1 smell.
1 smell. Lavender, as I'm going to Rabanal del Camino, when you leave Astorga and you smell the lavender.
And finally, a beer.
A beard?
A beer.
A
beer.
Oh, a beer, of course. Yes. Estrella Dam.
Oh, Estrella Dam? Really?
Yes, I like it. And
okay.
I also like the Stella.
The Stella Galicia. So well done. Really, really well. And first question we always ask every pilgrim that comes into the Camino People podcast is like, how did you find out about the Camino? I always know for the Germans, they have this book. For Americans, sometimes it's the movie The Way. What happened in your case? And like for you being from Seattle and being a biker, how did you find out about the Camino a long time ago?
Well, I feel like it was fate, it turns out. But in 2005, my wife and I decided we want to go to Europe and ride our bicycles. And at that time, the Camino was, and if we're going to take our bikes to Europe, we're going to do 2 weeks. And it was the only 2-week trip that I could find that was less than $5,000. So we signed up. I had no idea about the Camino. I knew nothing, never been to Spain before. And it hooked me like a fish being hooked.
So this was in 2005.
2005.
So right really at the moment where the Camino was growing, but it still wasn't huge as today.
Yes, and I don't know how I didn't know about it, because now I feel like it's such a big part of my life. I mean, you can see I have the necklace, I have a tattoo of this sign, I have all my some Compostelas and passports on the wall. All of this artwork is by Zamoteme, a gentleman who lives in Santiago. So I'm so connected to it. I really feel like my place in this world is to show it to people. I get all choked up.
But it's true. I truly believe, and that's what I believe, that the Camino people, it's about the people, it's about the stories of the people. And going to the Camino, it doesn't matter which way you go. You can go, like today I just got a friend that told me that one of his friends is going to go in one of those motorcycles, but electrical ones, and he's going to do the Camino on a motorcycle. And I know that once he's all over the Facebook, people will be complaining about if it's not a pilgrim, it's not a pilgrim. And like, what would you prefer, to this kid to be on a bar drinking and doing nothing, or going to the Camino in any way possible?
I think option B, of course, going to any way possible. It'd be interesting to see how he navigates the trail on the motorcycle.
I know. I don't know if he's gonna do it in a more road or more, but I saw the picture and the trail is more more like a mountain bike. So will be really interesting to follow us. So we will probably have him interview here. But as you say,
Cool.
a little step. Look where you are now, and look what happened in 2005. Something as little as finding a cheap trip in Europe ended up
Right.
being part of your life, no?
A huge part of my life. Like I say, I think it's my purpose to show people the Camino. I think now I've probably taken close to 200 people
Wow.
on the Camino, and I think 180 of them I've seen cry.
And what I said, most probably a lot of them have come back and doing by themselves, no?
Yes, a lot. Almost everyone says, "Oh, I have to come back and walk it," or "Oh, my aunt would love this. I must bring her back when I can come back." And then of course they send me messages and emails and say, "Oh, we're back. We're thinking of you. We're in this place where we were before," and they'll send me a picture, and it always gets me.
So how was your first Camino? I'm like, for everyone, the first Camino is that a special moment, but for you, we will go to the priors to the Camino. How do you prepare for the Camino? Being a biker and being from the States, I'm like, you have to send your bike, you have to send all your gear. You don't know everything. Do you train? I'm like, a lot of people ask us, I'm like, we talk a lot about walking the Camino and how to prepare, but how do you deal with all that stuff being a biker and having to send your bike from the States and taking care of all of that?
Well, it was an ordeal for sure the first time. I ride my bike enough that I don't have to really specifically train. I'm in good cycling shape,
Mm-hmm.
but it was more the mental part of the Camino that was hard for me the first time. I had never been to Spain before. My wife and I had never done a trip together, overseas with our bikes, and we have to take our bikes on the airplane, and we have to make our way. We took the train from Madrid to Pamplona, so we have to get our bikes on the train and get our
Uh-huh.
bikes to the hotel, and it was a very long ordeal. And then doing the Camino, then we have a GPS device that you just follow the GPS. Well, then we had a giant stack of papers, and we had to read, 2/10 of a kilometer, take the roundabout, 4 more tenths of a kilometer, turn left on Calle this. And it was, we got lost many times, did way too many kilometers some days. And we definitely had some Camino moments out there, and we had some Camino angels come and help us a couple of times when we were, in deep. We
Yeah.
were up in very deep, and it was really hard. I know some people think that riding the bike makes it easier, but it was very difficult, both mentally and physically. And when we finished, we had no desires of doing it again. But of course, you go home and you start to reflect, and you go, "Oh, I can do it better. I can do this. I can do that." And so we started going back every year, and here I am, 16, 17 years later now, still doing it every year, and until my legs fall off, I'll do it every year.
So how's the process for someone that that is listening to a lot of people listening from South Africa, from South America, the States, Canada, Australia? What do you think for bikers that are listening? Is easier to rent a bike here in Spain? In which case do you think they should bring their own bike? I'm like, or in which case they shouldn't?
Well, I think it's definitely easier to rent a bike, but the price is about the same. So if
Yeah.
like me, you ride your bike a lot and you're used to your bike and you're a bit of a bike snob.
Yeah, and you have
uh,
your previous bike that is quite expensive, and you take it to the hotel with you and put it in the other bed close to you. And this
that
is
is
not a
very
joke.
true.
I hear many people that they took two beds, one for the bike, one for themselves.
Yes, that's me. That's me for sure. I leave all the other bikes outside. My bike comes inside just because I want to be able to sleep. And
Yeah.
if it was outside, I would not sleep so good. And you
Mhm.
need your sleep, of course.
Totally.
But I think that, if you're comfortable bringing your bike on the airplane, and this is something you've done frequently, you can
Mhm.
do this. You go to your first hotel, and they will send your bike case, by Seor, the
Yeah.
equivalent of FedEx in Spain. And it's only 50 euros to send your bike anywhere in Spain inside of a
Mhm.
bike box by Seor. So it's fairly easy to ship your bike box ahead. Um, we send our luggage with a company, Tony Transporte. So we
Mhm.
don't carry anything on the bike
Yeah.
except for the jacket we need and the water. So it makes it a little bit easier to 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 ride if you don't have to carry everything. Of course, the people who are carrying everything on their bike think that we are cheating and everybody thinks everybody else is cheating, you know, in some way or another.
It's the big fight of we are always looking at the other side and see what the other guy is doing instead of looking at our own and thinking, and this is my Camino. The only, as I always say, the only person that you cheat is to yourself. So, who cares if this guy is carrying a bike or carrying a backpack? I'm like, you don't even know how much weight is he putting. So, yeah.
Agreed. And then, like you said, anyone who makes their way to Santiago is a pilgrim, and everybody has their own journey and has their own difficulties on the journey. I think every time you do it, at least for me, it has something to teach you about yourself, and whether or not you learn it while you're there or you get home and you think about it later, but there's always a lesson for you. And sometimes it's the logistics that is the lesson, and sometimes it's your spirit, and sometimes it's how you deal with other people and all of these things. But I think that, there's definitely a lesson for all of us every time we make that journey.
And for you, how was it? I'm like, we hear from people that go with their spouse, with their girlfriend on a walking, but for you on a bike, that's totally different. I'm like, I guess you were probably both used to the other biking together, but how do you manage your Camino? Did you guys have like a stage already set up when you first came to Spain? Did you start in San Jan, in Roncesvalles? How was it the first trip with your wife?
Yes, we started in Roncesvalles, and the first trip, it was both amazing and challenging. I mean, we had, as you know, the Camino is ups and downs as you're walking, and some days you're up and some days you're down, and you just have to push through the down days to get to the up days. And of course, the first couple of times, you don't really know what's coming. Now I know every foot, I know every single turn, I know every single hill that is coming. So mentally, it's much easier for me. But, that first time, you don't know how hard it is to go to Osobrero. You don't know how hard it is to go through San Zil and get to Sarria the next day, and so it's definitely challenging, both physically and mentally. Even when you're in good biking shape, it still challenges you.
And what about going with your wife? I'm like, how is the whole couple? Because I guess, normal day couple issues, when you go into biking, you have biking issues plus Camino issues, and that became...
Very true. Very true. We're lucky in that we have the kind of relationship where we try to not focus on the down moments, and we try to keep our focus on the up moments. But we definitely had some times where, it was hot out. Say the day to Leon is a very long day for the bikers. We go from Carrion de las Condes all the way to Leon. It's a very long day, and it was hot on that day. And I was having a hard time, and I started thinking to myself, well, if I'm having a hard time, it must be even more hard for her. And so my little lips started to quiver and the tears start to build up in my eyes. And then she sees me in that state, and the same thing happens. And that's one of the times we had our Camino Angel moment. We had a group of French guys show up, and they said, you guys look like you're having a hard time. You can get on our wheel and we will take you all the way to Sahagún. And they did, and that helped save our butts, man. We were having a hard day out there. And I feel like that's one of the great things about the Camino, is that everybody you meet is in it together. We're all doing the same thing, and we try to help each other out. And sometimes I've been able to help some people out, and sometimes other people have had to help me out when I was having a hard moment. I've been there in the cold, in the rain, where I had almost hypothermia, and I came upon some walking pilgrims, and they had thermoses of coffee and thermoses of hot chocolate, and they shared it with us, and I was able to get warm enough to I was slurring my speech because I was so cold. I was, in a bad place, and they saved us on that day as well. And so I try to do the same thing. I try to find people that I can help when I can, and sometimes I need help, and it's there. It's one of the most amazing things about the way.
And the Camino truly provides, and we can write so many books about this, but one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about the Camino by bike, sometimes people think, that in the Camino, we always talk about the Camino family, but usually bikers, you are your own, it's really strange to see one biker by himself in the Camino. Is usually with a group of friends or with a group of, bikers that you bike together. But how do you relate the Camino family that we talk, about the albergues and everything into the biking? Do the bikers create the same kind of like a family, but because of your route, some days they go longer or shorter, you don't create that kind of like community that goes all together from one place to another?
Well, it's interesting, because even if you don't quite stay in exactly the same place, you are traveling at relatively the same speed, and you see the same bikes every day. You see the same 15 or 20 people every day. You bump into them in a bar in a town somewhere. and you do form a bit of a community. You get that, foxhole mentality. You're all doing this together, and it's interesting. And then you will see them in the square in Santiago at the end, and you share hugs with them, and you talk about your ups and downs. And of course, just like the walkers, we go through that arc where you first start the Camino and you're very excited, and you got your brand new clothes and you're looking ready to go. And then 2 or 3 days in, you start to go, oh my God, what have I got myself into here? Am I even going to be able to do this? Can I make it? And then after another couple of days, you find your rhythm and you realize, oh, okay, if I just keep doing the baby steps and keep moving forward, I'll eventually get there.
Yeah.
And when you get there, you almost can't believe that you got there, because it's so many things that you have gone through mentally and physically. And we see that, one of the great things about the bike is that each day that we ride, we probably see 4 days worth of walking, 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see that arc of the people, and their first couple of days, everybody's excited and has fresh backpacks and they're full. And 2 or 3 days in, maybe a knee starts to hurt or the back starts to hurt. And so in say Zubiri or getting close to Pamplona, you start to see people, their body language changes, and
totally.
And then by Puente Lorena, you start to see them standing back tall again, and they're like, okay, I got this. And that's one of the great things about the bike, is you go from group to group of walkers, and of course you slow down and you say hello, where are you from, how are things going? You have the little chat with each little group of walkers. And one of the great things about being on the bike is you get to see that arc that the walkers go through, and then of course you get to Saria, and all of a sudden it's all brand new people again with brand new backpacks and brand new boots, and all the people that have been walking the whole time are like, I'm not so sure I'm excited to see these people. And it's really interesting to watch the arc that both the walkers and the riders go through. We just sort of go through it at different points along the way. It's one of the most important things about it.
How is the interaction between bikers and walkers? And like, for you guys, do you mountain bike or road bike, or do a mix of both?
We ride mountain bikes, but we do take the road frequently when the trail is too narrow for us or too technical for some of the people in the group, or in busy places. I try, at least our group, I really stress being courteous to the walkers and having respect for them and slowing down and talking to them, and not just going past as fast as you can and ringing your bell, get out of my way, And so I think one of the amazing things about the whole trip is engaging with the other pilgrims and hearing other people's stories and getting their perspective on it, and why they're doing it, where they're from, all of the things that you're asking me. I try to ask the walkers too, and I find that to be super enriching. I've made great friends who were walking and great friends who were biking, who I still, keep in touch with via the internet, and still see, when I go to where they live, because I have a job where I travel a lot, so I get to go and run into people. And I always try to hook up with fellow pilgrims and have a drink or have dinner and hear how their life is going since the Camino, and when they plan to do it again, because everyone plans to do it again, whether they get to or not. And so I think that's one of the most enriching things is all the other people. And, the walkers are the vast majority of them. So if you don't interact with the walkers, you're missing 80% of the people, and so it's really important to me to not only show respect for the walkers, but to interact with them and to hear their stories and to talk to them and hear about all the blisters on their feet, of course, and all of the things. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. I guess the more we talk to each other, and the beauty of the Caminos, that at the end we all go to the same bar. It doesn't matter the way you're walking, where you're sleeping, the restaurant that you have lunch. There is all those magic places in the Camino that you met with everyone. It doesn't matter, if you are a high-end CEO of a company, or you are working in a supermarket, if you're 80 years old, or if you're 18 years old, the Camino sets everyone on the same line. And the conversations are so incredible. I'm like, you're like me. You've been riding so many Caminos that you can write so many books about stories of people that walk with you and people that you discover in your walks. So the more we chat with each other and respect each other and know that there's one Camino that we all have to keep for everyone, not just for bikers, for riders, for wheelchairs, for people. Like the other day, I saw a lady here in Pamplona, blind and deaf. I'm like, there is a lot of kinds of pilgrims, a lot of kinds of people, and the Caminos for everyone and each of one of them.
Yes, I bet some people, with all kinds of different reasons for doing it, all kinds of different abilities. And it's always, you know, it's easy to be inspired by people on the Camino, and even more inspiring when you hear some of the stories of what people have gone through to get there. Have you ever met Mateo in Molina Seca?
Yeah.
Have you met him? The man
Yeah.
that gives everybody a hug?
There's so many people that give those hugs. I'm like, and those are the hugs, you know. I'm like, since I'm just arrived from my Camino, I'm like, when you go through this year of COVID and being at home and working, we are all so stressed. You go to the Camino, you get your batteries charged up, and you get those hugs from those people. And it doesn't matter if you believe, you don't believe, whatever. I'm like, it's incredible. I'm like, gets you back where you were supposed to be as a human being, and it gives you faith in everything. And you go back home so empowered, and everything is just incredible.
It almost sounds like you don't need me for this interview. You're saying the same things that I say. You could just talk into the mirror.
But we agree, that's the beauty. I'm like, and those interviews, as you said, you know, the whole idea of this is to empower and to encourage people to go no matter what to Santiago. And we haven't have a biker yet. And it's so hard for me to find bikers and to interview. And when I found your, I don't know even how you know, the fun things, I found your video with all the different shirts that you were counting, and you were like, I have too many of the Camino Santiago. I'm like, I need to talk to this guy.
I do have I have a lot of jerseys. I have a lot of shirts, of course, that I wear all the time. And one of the great things about having the t-shirts of the Camino is I'll be out somewhere and someone will see my shirt and go, "Oh, you've done the Camino de Santiago? Oh, okay. Well, let's sit here and have a drink and talk about it." And so you make friends everywhere. You know,
I know.
When I first did it, it was very rare for people to come up to me and say something about the Camino, and I would be almost shocked. But it's much more frequent now. I mean, once a month, someone will come to me and say, "Oh, I see your shirt," or "I see your necklace," or "I see your tattoo." And they will have a talk about the Camino, and they'll tell me, you know, their ups and downs and how amazing it was, of course, and when they're going to plan to go back.
It is an incredible community. I always say that, you know, we should have like a LinkedIn for just Camino related people, you know, because at the end you know what kind of person walks the Camino. And if you have a business and I can help you, and the same idea with a coach surfing. I'm like, if you have a house in Seattle, I have one in Spain. I'm like, let's trade for a month. I'm like, I trust this guy. He's going to do the Camino. He's going to spend here. But it's incredible how people start, you know, if they see you with a yellow arrow or with anything Camino related, they will approach you and start talking to you. So it's quite funny.
We have a group here in Seattle that's a Facebook group of American pilgrims. And one time they were like, "Oh, we're going to go to this park and do a walk." And so I got my Camino bike out and I just slowly rode past them. I didn't tell them I was coming. And I had my Camino bicycle and I just went slowly by, and they were all like, "Oh my God, you have a Camino bike." And then they, you know, of course they say, "Oh, we're a group of pilgrims." I'm like, well, I kind of knew that. I'm breaking in on purpose a little bit, but of course I make friends with all of them. And now a couple of them ride bikes, and we go and ride bikes together sometimes and stay in touch, you know, in the Facebook group. And so it's always fun to meet the other people and to hear their story.
And that's one of the things, you know, with COVID, I've been able to meet so many people and interview so many people. That's why, you know, the Camino people, we're a company and we're a nonprofit. So I'm going to tell you something that is a premiere, because this podcast is going to be released in September. I can tell you, we're going to be doing the first international pilgrims meeting in October.
Nice.
Everything's going to be
in September is when my next Camino is. I start on the 5th of September in Roncesvalles. So I will probably be watching this podcast in a hotel on the Camino.
Yeah, probably we will be doing, you know, we will try to see, usually right now the podcasts are released on Tuesday. So we will probably try to release it on the day that you guys arrive, and we can post some cool pictures and maybe even join you guys for a little stage. But let's go back to the Camino. How was the first arrival to Santiago? For, you know, everyone, that first arrival is one of those moments. How was it for you?
It was overwhelming for me. I mean, like I said, we had gone through a lot of trials and tribulations. And like you pointed out, you know, it was my first international bicycle trip with my wife. So that whole dynamic, you know, had its ups and downs. Mm-hmm. And when you finally make it to Santiago, you almost, especially the first time, you almost can't believe that it's real, that you really did it. You're like, I actually did it. Because, you know, during it, you're not sure you're ever going to make it. You feel so far away sometimes, like it's such a long ways to go, and there's so many things that can happen, and both mentally and physically. And you know, certainly every time I get there, it's emotional. I always tell people that if they're not emotional when they get there, they have a black hole for a heart. but the first time was overwhelming. I don't think I could even talk. There were so many tears, and I was so happy that we made it, and so happy that my wife made it, and that we were, we had finished, and that it was, at that point, it was all behind us, because it was very difficult the first time, and it was overwhelming. And as soon as I got there, I knew I had to do it again.
And that's
But it's funny,
usually
when people get there on the bike, they often say, "Oh, that was so great. Can we just turn around and go back now to Roncesvalles and go the opposite way? We don't want to go home. We want to keep doing this."
you can do it. The world record of going from Roncesvalles to Santiago, I think, is 30 something hours nonstop, 35 or 36. So,
whoa. No, I like to slow down and to have a beer and to have a pincho.
I know the Camino with no beer and no pinches and no octopus, no pulpo is no Camino.
Oh no. And
So,
the first time I went, I discovered the cerveza con limon, and which is just the perfect drink during the day when you're on the bike. You get the satisfaction of the beer, but it's cold and refreshing, and you don't get,
you don't get too busy, and you get your electrolytes, and you did recover. Yeah, cerveza con limon is such a great. There's another one that a lot of my friends and I drink when we go backpacking and hiking. Cerveza with gaseosa.
I have to try.
It's a really, the whole idea is, you lower down the alcohol on the beer. It's more frizzy, it's more gassy, so it gets you, it's a more refreshing drink. But
yeah. And I like the gaseosa. It would go good together.
Yeah, they go pretty good. So what happened after? Oh my God, again, really, what is going on with my camera today? Let's see if we can fix it. We'll cut it out later. It's having a fun time.
Back to the rainbow.
Yeah, I have to say this probably been okay.
There
Here we are again. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need a new camera.
Well, I think when I get to Pamplona in September, we will have a cerveza con gaseosa.
More than that, and I will take you. I always said, yesterday I was having a couple tapas with pilgrims. I take them to specific bars in Pamplona that they have the best tapas. And you've been in Pamplona many times, so we'll see if I can show you some new things.
Sure. I like Bodega Saria.
Okay, but have you tried the huevo poché from the Gaucho?
I've been to the Gaucho, but I don't know if I've had that particular one.
Okay, well, we'll discover it. So
I do love El Gaucho. It's right on the corner by Europa there.
Perfect. You know the spot. So the Gaucho has two really famous pinchos, the huevo poché and the foie.
Yeah. And the foie. And they are always showing the Formula One on the television there, so I go there and watch Formula One.
Yeah, this year is not a good year to follow the tour of the Formula One for Spaniards. We don't have anyone. Even in tennis, Nadal is not doing really well, but we'll see. So what happened after you come back from your first Camino? You get back to the States, and as you say, that you were going to be doing the Camino right away, but how long did it take you to really, getting back to Spain? And how was it this time? Were you coming with friends, with your spouse, or just by yourself?
Well, the second time I brought one friend with me. When I first started doing it, I was doing it with a tour company. And so it was the same time each year there. I was in May, and I brought a friend back with me who I, told him how great it was. My wife said, "Oh, I think one is enough for me." And so I took a friend, although she has now done it 5 times herself. And I took a friend with me and showed it to him. And it was, of course, completely different when you're another new person, and 2, just a different dynamic than with your wife, of course, with a friend. A little bit of competition, maybe, to try to get to the top of the hill first. And so it was fun. It was fun. And I was already hooked. And so, I knew that I would be coming back year after year. And I decided that I would go broke if I kept doing the tour company. So I started to guide it myself. And got a job.
That's incredible. How did you jump from, being well, that's one of a lot of people, one of the other problems that people talk in the Caminos about the guiding, the companies. And I always say there are some people that they don't feel okay doing them by themselves. There's some people that they need the extra help. There's some people that they need the guidance. And with biking, you always need someone, it's more tricky when you're coming from out of Spain and you don't know the place, you don't know everything. So having a company that sets everything and sometimes is easier. And as we were talking at the beginning, that's usually the first step to, in the following years, do it by yourself, even walking or any other way. So how was the switching from being a pilgrim that just walking for yourself to guide other pilgrims?
Well, so the first 3 times I did it with the other company as a customer. And then for 5 years, I just went by myself. I brought a couple of friends sometimes, and sometimes I just went by myself. And you know, doing the logistics yourself it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work because as a cyclist, I want to have a hotel every night, and I plan ahead. So you know, you have to make the reservations. With the internet, it gets easier and easier. But in the earlier days, in the 2005 through
Yeah.
2010, the internet wasn't. Not every hotel had an email address that they looked at every day, and it was a bit of a challenge, the logistics and finding someone to move the luggage. Now, of course, that's much easier. There's an envelope in every hotel, so you can easily move your luggage every day. But that was quite challenging, and I I enjoyed that challenge, but it also added some extra stress. And I tried to do things way months in advance, so I knew that I had a hotel, so I could stop thinking about it. But there's always one or two details that you forget, and at the last minute you have to get it all together. And so it's a bit of a challenge, you know. And I'm sure it's the same thing when you're walking, that you have to try to figure out how far am I going to walk today, where am I going to stay. And for me, that part would be very stressful, to not know where I'm staying every night, and to have to try to, you know, to secure some place to stay every night would be I think that stress, along with the physical stress, creates a little higher level than we
Yeah.
feel on the bicycle, because you know, the people that come with me, I've made all of the arrangements, so they don't have to worry about that at all. They don't have any logistical, you know, stress whatsoever. And I can imagine that adds to it, especially during the very busy times of the year, or during the Jubilee year, when you know,
And
there's a
also
bit
this
of a
year with COVID, and like I was, you know, the pilgrims I was having tapas in Pamplona, where they were calling a couple of other albergues in advance in Puente la Reina and Estella, and some of them were already booked. The normal ones, the public ones, you know, they just changed. The Galician, they used to be making reservations at the beginning of the summer, but the website wasn't working, so now they are first come first serve. So for all our pilgrims, this year and next year, I think are going to be tricky. And as I always say, you know, if you can afford, and that's going to give you peace of mind, go ahead, call a private albergue or a hotel, and doesn't feel, you know, don't feel bad about it. And like, you can, every once in a while you're going to be with people, and the declaration is going to be the same. But this year, always try to make a call, because the hospitalero, you never know what's going to be happening. And a lot of places are, we heard that some cities are going to be maybe closing down just for the city, so you're maybe not even going to be
yeah,
able to
stay
stay.
outside.
So it's going to be a tricky
It seems
year.
like it seems like every morning when I'm at breakfast, there's walkers there. They're on booking.com, and they're trying to figure out, can I get a hotel? No, this town is full. Oh, am I going to have to walk further, or am I going to have to walk less to stay in a different town? And then
Yeah.
how does that affect the outcome at the end? Because most people have, you know, a flight home or a trip home booked, and
Yeah.
they have given themselves a period of time. And if you have to change things in the middle of it, makes that end date harder to get to. And yeah, it seems very stressful to me. And I think it's stressful enough just trying to move your body along the along the route myself.
So you said that you were doing 21 Caminos already, and always the Camino Frances. Didn't you get tired of riding the same path, of going to the same places?
Well, I have made friends in many of the cities, so I look forward to seeing them. But because I bring different people with me every time, I get to see it through their eyes. It's new every time to them, and so it's new every time to me, because I get to see how they react, how they deal with all of the different challenges that come along the way. And so that's, for me, that's the beauty of it every time, is living vicariously through the people that I go with. And I see something different every time as well. It's, even though I'm on the same path, it's different every time, because you know, it has a lesson to teach you. And of course the weather is different during different times of the year, and the challenges are different. Sometimes I feel good, sometimes I don't feel good. You know, so it's even though it's the same path every year, it's not the same journey every time. It's different every single time.
So what is the best part comparing, you know, walking by yourself and walking with others?
Well, it used to be that I would just sort of tell people, okay, here's the end, here's where we're going to meet for lunch. We'll be at the first bar on the right in Puente la Reina, let's say, and we would all split up and go on our own. And then it sort of has evolved, because now I know so much about it. Everybody wants to hear about every little thing, you know, the history of all the places. So we tend to stay together a little more now. But I find that even when you're together, and I think you probably find this walking as well, even when you're technically together, you have a little space between you and you spend that time inside your own head. It's
Mhm.
the Camino is very much, as much as it is physical and part of the outside world, it's also very much inside your own
Mhm.
head. And there's a lot going on in there as well as a lot going on outside. And that, of course, is different every year, just depending on what's going on in your life, what your concerns are, what
Mhm.
your personal happinesses are at that time. And so that also makes it different every time, is that you have different things going on inside of your head each day. And I imagine, especially walking, it's almost like you're walking by yourself. And when you're with other people, and the same with the riding the bike, it's almost like you're riding by yourself. You certainly, when you stop in a town and have a pincho and have a coffee, then everybody talks about what they just went through for the last 2 or 3 hours. But during those 2 or 3 hours in between, it's a lot of time in your own head, and a lot of time, especially when you find those places where there aren't many other people. Of course, when, say, from Carrion de las Condas down that one dirt road, there are so many
Mhm.
people that you're talking to everybody, and you don't have a lot of time to think about your problems because you're meeting all these people and you're saying hello to everyone. But then there's other times when there's not so many people that late in the day, especially because we ride a longer distance than most people
Mhm.
walk. Most people finish walking 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're usually riding till 3, 4 o'clock. And
Yeah.
so that time in the afternoon, we don't see nearly as many people, so there's a lot more time to think and to work out whatever lesson it is the Camino is teaching you this time.
What kind of tricks can you give to the first-time bikers that are thinking of both biking the Camino Frances?
Well, first I say you have to be patient, and you have to realize that and this is very obvious to say, but you're not the only person there doing it, and that everybody else's journey is just as important as your journey. And I find a lot of time the bikers, they put their head down and they're like, I have to make it to this place at this time, and they don't slow down and speak to the people. They
Yeah.
maybe brush by the people a little bit, and I think it's really important to respect everybody else's journey as well, and to realize, whatever you're going through, other people are going through similar things, other people are going through different things, and to really, to have some respect for that, and hope that they have respect for your journey as well.
Mhm.
And then we can all come together and be one community, which is, the great thing about the
Yes.
journey, is it
It's not
is
about
one.
putting the time on a Strava, no, or making the best time. It's more about
No,
the journey.
it's, yes. I try to tell this to people all the time, that, certainly you're riding your bike from point A to point B, and you want to get that finished and you want to arrive safely. But it's the in between parts that you don't know, that you can't plan for, that are the good parts, that those are the
Mhm.
parts that you have to embrace, and you have to be ready to go off of your planned route, so to speak, and take a new route where you're
Mhm.
meeting people. Or one of the great things about the bike is that we go far enough go a long ways in a day, and so our time is a little more fluid. If we see a farmer in the field, we can stop and talk to them and say, oh, how long have you lived here? Have you
Mhm.
done the yourself? And almost
Yeah.
everybody
So you have
there
the
has
spare
done it.
time that maybe some pilgrims they don't have because they really have to make it to the albergue to get a bed.
Exactly. And that's, I think, one of those, of course, the way that I do it has to be the best way. But I think that's one of the benefits of the bicycle, is that you can make up some time if you stop and you get a lucky encounter with someone, or, a group of walkers who are having lunch, and you can stop and chat with
Mhm.
them for a while, and then you can easily catch back up if you just push a little bit.
Yeah,
And
that's a beauty that some pilgrims, as I say, when you as a pilgrim walking, you get to a village and you don't have a berge. Walking another 10K, that's quite hard, but riding 10K is nothing. So I always
right,
tell, the bikers, just enjoy, go with the flow. You're the lucky one that can go around and look for an albergue, a hotel, or whatever. As for the pilgrim with the backpack, it's so much harder to really
so
do
much,
that
we
extra.
in Rabanel del Camino, which for folks that haven't gone is at the start of the mountains. We
Mhm.
stay in the hotel that is the last building in town in Posada Gaspar. And many times walkers will come in and ask if there's a room. And of course, if there's no room in that hotel, they've already asked all the other hotels in town. This is the last building.
Mhm.
And you just see in their face, like, oh my God, I have to walk now to Fonsebanon, which is another 6 or 8K up a very steep hill. It's
Yeah.
already getting dark outside, and so, yeah, I definitely, my heart goes out to those folks. You can see in their face, they're very sad about having to continue in the night. I
And
think
what
that's,
about gear and preparation for bikers?
well, one of the things about the Camino is whatever you don't bring, that is exactly what you're going to encounter. So if you don't bring your rain gear, a raincoat,
Yeah.
and your shoe covers and your warm gloves, well, it's going to be cold and raining for sure. If you don't bring enough sunscreen or warm weather clothes, it's going to be hot as can be. So I try to cover all the bases, and that's one of the luxuries of having somebody move your luggage, is that you can bring everything you will need for each day, and then you look at the weather each day. But I think the main thing about preparing as a cyclist is preparing mentally. Everyone can go out and train and ride their bike and get their butt in shape for the all day in the seat for 2 weeks, but it's the mental aspect that really, I think, catches most people who are avid cyclists anyway, and who are in good physical shape. They don't realize how mentally tough it really is to be that nomadic lifestyle, and every single day wake up in a new place, go to a new place, spend the night, wake up, leave, and you have that nomadic lifestyle. And it's hard mentally. It's not as easy as just going for a bike ride every day, because of course it's a pilgrimage and it's trying to test you. So I think that the biggest preparation that I try to tell people when I communicate with them before is to be ready for anything, and to not have too many expectations, because your expectations can only let you down. You know what I mean? And so you have to be open every day to whatever that day is going to bring. It can be anything from a very smooth and easy day, and you just ride on through and there's no bumps in the road, or you can have mechanical issues. Somebody can fall down, somebody can not eat the right amount, so they bonk and they don't have the energy. And so you have to address that, which just happens more than almost any other thing, is people don't realize how much
energy
physical activity it is, and how much energy you're using. And I think a lot of that is because of the mental aspect. Your brain takes a lot of energy, and
of course
there's a lot going on in there all day long. That's for sure.
And what about gadgets? And like the other day I was in St. John and I saw this kid, he was coming from Venezuela, and his bike, for example, he didn't have the light on the back that now is mandatory in Spain. You need to be signal on your bike. So, and I saw that you have your biking bracelet, that are your health,
road ID.
And that's so what do you think for people coming, that they're not so used to this kind of like, a lot of people around, they think that biking is for everyone, and you've been doing all your life, and it is for everyone, but there are some things that sometimes you don't think about. I'm like, do you go with clip-ons, normal? What do you suggest? A camelback?
Well, I used to wear the camelback for sure, but now I realize that I do the handlebar bag, and I just bring my water bottles, because I want to stop and get water and stop and talk to people. And so I think that, and there are towns enough if you plan well enough, but I definitely think a camelback is a good idea for people that haven't done it, because one, you can have plenty of water and you just never know when you're going to run out or where that fresh water source will be. And two, the camelback, you can carry a jacket and some sunscreen and some tools and some first aid and some energy bars if you need. So the more prepared you are, the less likely you are to be caught by surprise, right? So I think it's, especially for the first time person, again, to help you with that to be calm mentally, is to have almost everything you could possibly need on you while you're riding. Most people use the panniers. Again, if you're moving your luggage, you don't really need the panniers, but you still, if you're moving your luggage, you don't have access to it. So you need everything on you that you can possibly need that day. And of course, I make mistakes on that. I forgot to bring my tools, or here it is cold and I brought a jacket, but I brought no gloves today. And so now my hands are freezing, so, and inevitably that's going to happen. You're going to have those days. You're going to have great days where everything goes perfect, and you're going to have those days where everything goes wrong, and you have to be able to calm down and just get through whatever is happening in front of you at the moment, so that you can get your way to Santiago finally.
So what is the basic luggage? When we talk about pilgrims, I always say, 2 shorts, 2 t-shirts, 1 long pants. What is the basic luggage for a biker that is going to be carrying their own luggage?
Well, for carrying your own luggage, you have to have much less. I know some people who all they bring is 2 pairs of bike shorts, so they can hang
Just
one
one.
off their backpack, so that back and forth, and I know some people who try to bring a lot, but I think that all you really need, especially if you're carrying your own luggage, you need two sets of bicycle clothing,
Mhm.
and then just one set of off the bike clothing. You can bring the pants that zip off to shorts,
Yeah.
and then you have a pair of pants and a pair of shorts, depending on your day. You definitely need a pair of shoes that are not the shoes that you're biking in, even if you're
Mhm.
not clipped in. If you're wearing clipped in pedals, of course, you have special shoes for that, and you will obviously bring other shoes.
Yeah.
But even if you're just wearing flat pedals
Oh,
and regular
yeah.
shoes, you need another pair of shoes
Mhm.
so that your feet aren't always in the same pair of shoes. It's crucial, and that's why you also need a different set of clothing as well, so you can get those bike shorts off as soon as you
Mhm.
possibly can, so that you're not in that same set of clothes all day every day. It's crucial, and of course, when you're on the bike, you need a basic set of tools. You need a spare inner tube or some sealant, depending on whether you're
Yeah.
going tubeless or wearing the tube. You need something to charge the batteries of your GPS device, because most people these days use a GPS device. They don't
Mhm.
use paper directions, so you have to think about that. Most GPS devices, the battery doesn't last all day, so you have to bring
Mhm.
the extra charging battery that you can plug in at lunch, so you can keep your GPS device. You know,
Wow.
I often will tell people today, no GPS device. You have to follow the arrows, and you have
Old
to
style.
have and it's so much harder mentally. You'd see people, they crack so much earlier in the day that their physical body doesn't last nearly as long when they're
But it's
using so
incredible.
much.
We are on a normal daily basics. And like the other day, I was in Madrid and I asked someone, I'm like, oh, you have to go here, and they gave me a map. I'm like, I have Google. I'm like, I don't need it.
Right.
I'm like, and I used to go with map and a compass and everything when I was hiking, and now and it's truly like, that part of your brain doesn't work anymore. So when you need to make it work, it's so hard to
It's
get it
very
back to work
difficult.
again.
You should see the look of panic on people's face when I say no GPS today. Today we follow the arrows, and they're like, "Oh my God, are you serious? I can't do it."
Next
I'm
time,
like,
give
"Oh, you
give give
can't
them
do
a
it."
map and a compass, and that will be probably some of them will start crying and getting back to the
Oh, for
States.
sure. Can you imagine doing it before there was yellow arrows? In the '80s, before because I think the
Incredible.
arrows were what, in the late
Yeah,
'80s. Someone started
yeah,
painting the yellow
yeah,
arrows.
yeah. Elias Baliña,
So
the priest that is buried in Febrero, he was the one that started with the arrows.
yeah, I can't imagine just having to follow a compass and a map, and that would be very mentally challenged. You would be exhausted every day for sure.
What about
You
those?
hear about people.
Say, go ahead.
What's that?
Sorry. No, go ahead. Sorry, finish.
I was going to say, you hear about people, you meet people all the time who both walked out of their
Mhm.
house and rode their bike out of their house in, say, the Netherlands. And I always ask, like, how did you get to the start of the Camino? How did you find the first arrow? Because, when you have to go across the whole country before you even get to the Camino, I can't imagine how challenging that must be, and how stressful it must be.
Mhm.
It's
In Spain,
beyond me.
we have a say that we say that el diablo sabe más por viejo que por diablo. The devil knows more for being old than for being the devil. And in your case, I'm like, you have so many caminos in your back. What is those little tricks that you have learned with the time? A lot of people, when we talk about pilgrims walking, is those tricks to keep your feet, instead of Vaseline. Some people wear tights. I'm like, I hear everything. The other guy, a friend that walked with me, he was wearing, napkins on their feet to keep the
Ah,
sweating away. I'm like, first
makes
time
sense.
ever. I'm like, it worked for him. So is there any trick, that for bikers being so long, in the sitting there, and what kind of tricks do you use for your feet, for your body?
Well, I think that what you just said is the key, is that different things work for different people, and everybody
And
has their own
their
tricks of the
own,
way. But of
yeah.
course, even people who are avid cyclists, they don't ride their bike for 2 weeks every single day, all
Mm-hmm.
day. So your body does go through things that it doesn't normally go through. And so, of course, the chamois cream is very important, even when you don't think you need it.
Mm-hmm.
From the first moment of the first day, you have to start wearing the chamois cream. Otherwise, just like with your feet, if you get to a place where your feet are injured, it's hard to come back from that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get back to healthy, because you're abusing them every day. And the same thing for your contact points on the bike. Just like a walking program, you don't want to buy brand new shoes for the bike and show up the first day and wear brand new shoes, because of course that's going to rip your feet up. Same with your shorts. same with your helmet, with your camelback. Again, the camelback is heavy. You've got your 2 liters of water in there. You've got
Yes.
tools and stuff, and most people don't wear that, the shoulder straps all day, every day. So I tell people, if you're bringing a camelback, wear it at home for a couple of weeks. Put it on when you're going for a walk. Put it on when you're just hanging around the house, so that you can get your body used to the things that are going to be happening on the Camino. Because of course, if you show up without being used to it, you're going to encounter some issues. It's just the way that it is.
And have you find any issues in your Caminos? Have you have any trouble in your own Caminos?
Of course, I've had, I've because I sometimes ride a little more aggressively than maybe I should. I've had some serious crashes on the Camino, and
Okay.
had no skin on the side of my leg on the very first day. I went second day, actually, once I crashed right by the University of Pamplona there. There's a downhill with some roundabouts, and I was going around one of the roundabouts, and there was gravel there, and I slid out and took all the skin off the whole side of my leg. And so now you're trying to sleep.
Well, the first day, probably.
Well, the second day on the bike, because we Roncesvalles to Pamplona, and then Pamplona to Estella. I almost forgot. But so of course now I'm trying to keep bandages on my leg. I don't want to be infected. It's hard to sleep. I don't want to get blood on the bed of the hotel. I don't want to ruin their bed, and have them be upset with me. And so these things happen. I've had, or you don't even realize, you think you're totally healthy, and 3 days in, your knee starts to hurt. And you go, well, how do I mitigate this? I still have to ride every day, and it just hurts more and more. And you hope that it's going to get better. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And these are part of the lessons that the Camino teaches you. You have to deal with whatever situation you're in at the moment. You can plan and plan and plan and plan, but you still have to deal with every situation that happens to you when it happens to you. So, like you said, the tricks that I know, like using the chamois cream even when you don't need it, wearing familiar shoes, trying not to ride over your head, just like with the walkers, you get there and you go, I'm going to walk 25 kilometers a day. And then your body goes, no, 15 kilometers is all we have. You have to listen to that, and you have to just change your ways and go to the 15 kilometers. Otherwise, you're just not going to make it. And so I think one of the biggest tricks is, again, to let your expectations go and let the moment, dictate how you're going to react and what you're going to do each day. Because if you ignore that, then it's going to end up biting you sooner or later, and you're not going to have the journey that you thought you had. Well, you're never going to have the journey that you thought you were going to have.
And that's part of but if you don't expect anything, that's even much better. And one of the issues that we've been seeing this year, with COVID and everything, is like the whole preparation of the travel, of the flight and everything, getting vaccines, not getting vaccines. But one of the big things I believe, for pilgrims walking is very important, but for pilgrims biking is even more, is the insurance. In Spain, we have insurance for everyone. We have, if you go to the hospital, they will give you more than first aid. So, coming from the States, that's a big change. But still, do you have a specific insurance? Do you carry everything in your first aid kit that, will be helpful for the pilgrims to carry or to do?
Well, certainly in the first aid kit, you can't carry too much because you only have so much space to carry. My main goal is to be able to patch up small wounds, but if anybody is really hurt, to just get them to a clinic or to a hospital. I've had some people hurt themselves before and have to spend a whole week in the hospital in Pamplona, and these things unfortunately do happen.
But at least we have one of the best hospitals in Spain. So if you have to stay in Pamplona, that's not bad at all. And remember that in Spain, the insurance and everything, the ambulance. So one of the big things is here, we don't use 911. Remember, it's 112 for any kind of emergency that you have. And remember that also in the Camino, we have the Guardia Civil, the police that takes care of the Camino. They are now in horses and and they're always there taking care of the pilgrims. Yep, there's a special, even bigger deployment this year for the Sacobeo for next year. And you will maybe see them by horses, and they set up like offices along the Camino to be.
Yes, I've seen them in town. It's like the new Knights Templar.
Yeah, never thought about that, but it's true. They are the Knight Templars taking care of the Camino. So have you found any problem with the whole COVID situation, flying in to Spain and to the group that is coming? Is everybody vaccinated, or do you have any issues setting up everything?
Well, so far, I have suggested that everyone gets vaccinated, of course, and you know how the political climate is in here in
I
America.
know,
These
I know.
things, some
I've
people
been
will,
there.
some people won't. But and we have to take a, even if you're vaccinated, you have to have a COVID test that is negative to get
Mhm.
on the plane. And I think even you have to get one in Spain to come back as well.
Yeah, I
So that is a
believe.
little bit of a logistical thing to try and make that happen for people in Santiago. Um, I found a place in Santiago where we can easily get the
Mhm.
test, and everyone here has to get it because you know the people that are coming with me are coming from different cities, so I
Mhm.
don't meet them until we're in Pamplona.
Okay, so you
So
don't, well,
hopefully,
you know them through Skype or whatever, but never personally till you get into Pamplona.
correct,
Okay. And
correct,
one of the things
unless
that
they've come before.
yeah, I tell everyone like things are changing as we were talking prior to interview. You know, right now things are changing in different cities in Spain. Right now the mask is not mandatory in any city, but some of them are back to putting the mask on the streets. I was surprised because I was just coming from France and there was no one wearing a mask, and I get into Pamplona and everyone wears a mask here still, because there's the
Yeah,
new one COVID coming in. Now they say that the one from England or the one from India, and things are going to be changing all the summer. So we as pilgrims have to be ready for many
for
changes,
sure.
because many cities can close, or things in Santiago are changing. The numbers are going up, so we don't know what's going to
And
happen.
for me, I think that the mask is just going to become part of my life from now on. You know, when
Yeah.
I'm on an airplane, I'm going to wear the mask. So I've certainly been on the airplane going to Spain to do the Camino, and heard, this is in years past, somebody behind me is sneezing and coughing, and I'm like, great, 3 days from now I'm going to be sick for sure. And sure enough, 3 days from now I was sick. So I mean, for me now that the mask is a thing, I'm just going to wear the mask all the time on the airplane, just to try to to, to be prophylactic about it, and not get sick as
Yeah,
much. And
I
you
think we're
know,
all
I
going to
don't
be
mind.
jumping into the Asian mode. It's also protecting ourselves, but
Right.
protecting others from ourselves. And like a lot of people, they don't get about Asian people that they wear the mask all the time. Depending, it's like they are so much protective of the community and everything. And I guess as one of the things that those masks, I don't think they take away my freedom. I think it's just a way, if putting a mask and save someone's life or making someone else more comfortable, why not?
For
And
me, I look at it just like another piece of clothing.
yeah,
I'm not upset that I have to wear pants every day.
I
You know,
am.
you're not wearing pants currently, correct?
I'm wearing
No,
my
but you know,
PJs, but don't ask me to stand up.
and so for me, that's all it is. It's the same as putting
Yes.
on pants. You put on pants so that the rest of society doesn't have to deal with you not
Hmm.
wearing pants, and you put on the mask so that the
Yeah.
rest of society doesn't have to deal with you not wearing the mask. To me,
Mhm.
it's the same, but that's not how everybody feels. So again, just
Yeah.
like the other pilgrims on the Camino, you have to, you know, respect everybody's way of thinking. Even if you don't agree with them, they're still free to think how they want to think. And of course, I know the best way to do everything, so just ask me. But you know,
And that's what I
other
said, everyone.
people have,
If this year you don't feel comfortable following the rules that may happen, maybe it's not the year for the Camino. I'm not saying that I'm right or you're wrong. There is no right or wrong at this
agreed.
moment, but the
And I
rules
think,
does.
you know, there are some people that just aren't comfortable with getting on an airplane yet, and
Hmm.
they that, oh, I you know, again, I belong to many Facebook groups and stuff
Hmm.
that talk about the Camino, and there's lots of people that are just saying no, 2022, then I'm going to
Yeah.
try again, because
Hmm.
right now it's just not the time for me. I don't feel comfortable, and
Yeah.
I totally respect that. And then there's another group of people that are like, no, the second that that place is open, I am going. I don't care what restrictions are, what hoops I have to jump through. I just want to get there. And I'm kind of in that camp. You know, it's September of 2019 was the last Compostela for me. And so it's
Yeah.
going to be almost 2 years, which is the biggest gap that I've ever had. You know, I try to do it at least once every year, and we'll try to do it at least once every year until my legs fall off,
Hmm.
or just stop working. And so it's, for me, I as soon as Spain says it's okay to come, then I'm coming. I'll do whatever it takes. I don't care if I have to wear a silly hat, if I have to wear, I don't care. I will I will jump through whatever hoop is necessary so that I can come and do the Camino, because it's that important to me, to my soul, to my
Hmm.
body, to my mind.
And I
Just
remember to everyone, it's just, those little times in the cities and everything. And I don't, as you say, I ask everyone, if you don't feel comfortable with your mask, find the one that suits you better. Once you're in your town, there's some one that they're cloth, there's the paper ones, there's different ones. So right now we don't have any specific in which one you have to wear. So find the one that you have to wear more comfortable, just to be in every closed place is going to be mandatory in Spain. That's for sure.
well, I think for sure, you know, if I was staying in an albergue, I would definitely be wearing a mask when I'm in there. All of these people in one room that
you have to. It's mandatory. So right now, but even
if it
going
wasn't,
outside just in case, I'm like, just find one that you feel comfortable, even biking just in case that, things change. So
and
to
I
be
also
sure.
think that, if having to put on a mask is the worst part of your day, then you've got a really good life. You know what I mean?
That's, we've seen all these memes, of the people from World War I and World War II. Like, here we are complaining that we have to wear masks. That we were at home with Netflix, Amazon, HBO,
Right.
and all of the other. And I always say, we are the lucky ones. And finally, we're the luckiest because the Camino is open and you're going to be riding soon. I just walk, and soon I will be running to Santiago. So, what else do we need?
You're going to run?
I'm going to go with a friend. I'm not going to be running, but a dear friend is going to try to beat the world record running to Santiago.
What is the record running?
It's less than 7 days.
Wow.
Yeah. The beauty of...
I met a guy one time, this is 3 years ago, I think, who was running it, and he was running a marathon every day.
Ricky. That's Ricky, the one that I'm doing it. He did it 3 years ago. He went running and he went back by bike in 2 days. So this year, the whole idea is to be able to beat the world record, but everything we are doing for a nonprofit that runs a couple of burgers here in Pamplona, and it's the 50th anniversary.
I think maybe I met him then. I don't know what time of year he
Probably
did that, but yes. The person that I met was running. They did it in 3 days, and they were planning to ride the bike back. So
yeah, and also he has the world record of running marathons, one every day for close to 2 years in a row. 670 days, I think. Let me try it.
670 days of running a marathon.
So. And he has also the triathlon record. I'm like, it's great because all this, this crazy, and we have a great round table about the Camino and how a lot of people go with, this kind of things to the Camino, because they all do it for a good cause. It's not just, as we were talking prior to this, people don't get how a runner feels when we are running. I'm like, the first time I finish a marathon, the first time you finish a race, the kind of things that we go when we are doing it, they're so similar to what a pilgrim goes every day walking. I'm like, you cannot compare the experience of a runner saying, oh, he's doing less because he's running. I'm like, maybe the way, his thoughts and his spirit moves him is different and for him to get to that experience, he needs to run or bike or sail. Right now, you can do the Camino biking, riding a horse, riding a bicycle, on a wheelchair, by sailing, scuba diving, and I think that's all. That's all, but Scuba diving, yeah. It's not, on the Compostela yet, but there is a part of the Camino that can be doing scuba diving. I'm like,
okay.
If that's whatever, what suits you.
And for me, because I think there's important lessons to learn about yourself. However you want to do it, whatever gets you there, whatever gets you to Santiago, I'm all for it. Now, of course, you always hear this conversation when you're on the Camino. Everybody thinks they're the only real pilgrims, and everybody else doing it any different way is not a real pilgrim. And of the people that on the bike that are carrying all of their stuff, they think we're not real pilgrims because somebody else is carrying our luggage. And I find that a very interesting and amusing conversation because experience has taught me that everybody is a real pilgrim. Of course, everyone who does it, no matter how you do it, it's different for everybody, and everybody goes through these same up and downs, and they learn their lesson. And I think that that's what's really important, is just like you said, just getting out the door and being there, and however you do it. I mean, you even meet people who are on a motorcycle or in the car, and they are just driving the route and staying in the hotels and stuff, and they have their own journey that certainly isn't as physically demanding, but their journey is valid too. And maybe that makes them in the future go, oh, now I'm going to come back and walk it, or come back and ride a bike, or take my horse.
That's why I always say you never know what is going on up here, and that's what it makes that a real pilgrim. The way you walk, the way you ride, or where you sleep. And at the end, if going by car, going by bike, going 3 days, if that puts you to discover the Camino, like that, exactly. That's all it matters.
Exactly. I'm right there with you. There's no substitute for actually being there. Everybody thinks that last year, of course, I did a virtual Camino.
I did it too. I saw your medal on the Instagram. I have one too. And a lot of people were like, why are you doing that? I'm like, this is such a great idea. It's pushing people to push themselves and exercise while we are, all engaged. And it's such a great idea and so many people join and do the Camino virtually and help them motivate to
And
to
of course,
walk.
for me, when I was doing it virtually, each day you're going to do it, you are mimicking a stage, and so I would remember the
Mhm.
the the landscape of that stage, the people that I meet, the hotels that we
Yeah.
stay at, the restaurants we go to, and so it was definitely a very strong mental journey. Even though I wasn't physically in Spain, I still got to experience some of those
Mhm.
feelings and some of the memories that I have when I'm there. Because for me, it's, again, I do the same Camino over and over, and I will be doing the other ones eventually. But it's the people that I know that I meet every time. The man that owns Hotel Europa,
Yeah.
and the different people in the hotels and in the restaurants that we go to each time. I've become friends with those people over the internet, just like I'm becoming friends with you now, and we will meet when we're there,
Mhm.
and we will stay in touch. And the Camino has made this connection between you and I, and I can already tell just by talking to you, this won't be our last
No,
conversation,
no, that won't be for
and
sure.
for sure, and that there's another person that I've met because of the Camino, another connection that I can make that will be a long lasting one, and
This is
there's no such
like the movie The Butterfly Effect, and like the Camino opens you to that community, and the COVID has made this community so incredible for me, and suddenly things, and it's always great. And one of the things that I found out, and it doesn't matter, I always say that the Camino doesn't start the day you're walking or riding, starts the day that you discover it, and it never stops. And that's one of the things that you discover on your first arrival to Santiago. You think that Santiago is the end, but as you are now know right now, I'm like, we don't know when the end is going to come, and we must enjoy
it's not.
till it does.
Well, and of course, because we see the same things, we smell the same smells along the way. We have this camaraderie that's built
Hmm.
in already. I know that you have walked through the monastery of San Anton, and then you've seen the castle of Castro Jerez, and you've taken a picture of that castle, because everybody takes a picture of this castle as you go. And so, I know all of these things that you have done, that I have done, and so we already have this shared experience, even though we've never done them together.
Hmm.
We have a shared experience already, because we've seen the same things, we've smelled the same smells, we've tasted the same air, we've walked through the area before Astorga that smells a lot like cows, and so we know the smell of the cows that's before Astorga, and all the and all of these shared experiences that already gives us so much common ground that
Hmm.
we talk for 2 minutes and I'm already friends with you, because I
I know
know
that's
all
it,
of these
and we
things.
can be here talking for ages, and we don't even have a beer yet. But
Yeah, right. It's
big
still only
question.
almost 10 o'clock here. It's not quite time for beer.
Hey, it's 7 o'clock here in Spain, so it was always 7 o'clock somewhere. So big question for you: if you have to do a Camino walking, which one will you choose to do? Now that you have do the French so many times riding, will you try the French? Will you try a different Camino?
That's a great question. I mean, I would love to walk the French way just to see the differences, and to
Hmm.
see the same thing but through a different set of eyeballs. But I mean, for me, the one that's super appealing to me is the north, the
The Norte.
primitive route is the one that I would most likely do first if I did another one. And I've had plans to do it, and then it just kind of falls through. And also the Portuguese way. But I think on the bike, because I've been to Santiago many times, I might go Santiago to the Algarve, just
Okay.
because then I get the tailwind. Because if you're coming towards Santiago, it's a
And
headwind the whole
and you're
time.
going almost down. Yeah, that's pretty
Right.
easy ride. That's not
Yeah,
a
that's the
bad.
plan, right? Going south is downhill.
Yeah, that's maybe not a good plan. Maybe one day you can do the Norte, join the Primitivo, and then go all the way down to the Algarve.
That was our plan. That was before COVID came. I had made a plan with some friends. We were going to do the Norte to Santiago, and then go down to Lisboa
Wow.
on the Portuguese route. And it was going to take us 6 weeks.
Hmm.
But then, of course, COVID come, and
Time.
that's it's good to make the plan, but then the reality of the 6 week bike tour is a long ways time from home. It's
Yeah.
expensive. You're not working. All
Yeah.
of these things.
I was supposed to be going to Japan to do the Kumano Kodo and going to Italy to do the Via Lauretana, but plans. There's always new ones, and there's always many caminos to walk, and that's one of the
I'm
beauties when
also
you.
very interested in that one. In the north of Japan, there they have the sort of new Camino route. I met some Japanese people on the Camino one year, and they
Mhm.
started telling me that they were there researching to try to build the Japanese route. And now it looks like it's got some good infrastructure, and
Yeah, there is
it
one
looks
that is
very
pretty
efficient.
famous for walkers, the Kumano, but I think for bikers, like they do this. The Shikoku is a much longer. It's a 40-day, and they have like two different loops. And I have a friend in Japan. He did the whole Japan biking around the coast.
Oh, wow.
So I will
That
put you
sounds
in touch with him. I will send you his Instagram
okay.
because he's an avid biker. I'm like, and it's beautiful. It's so different. And as I say, at the end, you start with one Camino, and now there are new Caminos popping up everywhere and incredible
Where
routes. It's just amazing.
and I have never ridden my bike in Japan. It's a place that I need to go. I've been to many countries in Asia and done bike trips in other Asian countries, but just
Uh-huh.
not in Japan.
No,
So
it's always
it's on the list. It's on the
and
list.
if you do the Kumano Kodo and you do the Camino de Santiago, because they are the two Caminos that they're recognized by UNESCO, you get the dual
Uh-huh.
pilgrim certificate.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Mm-hmm. Not many people
Very
know.
nice.
They have like a brotherhood between Santiago and Kumano. So if you do the Kumano and it's just 4 or 5 days walking, and
Uh-huh.
you go with the Compostela, you get this cool certificate with like a really cool sign, and you get
Oh,
another
very nice.
Compostela. So that would
Yet
be
another
great for
reason.
your collection on the back.
Of course, of course. Yeah, I used to have every Compostela in a different tube, and I ran out of places to put them. So I made this for a couple of them, and then I had to put others into a photo album just because I ran out of space to keep all my Compostelas. A good
Pretty
problem
cool.
to have.
Oh,
A good problem.
that's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
Anyway, Captain, thank you so much for having us today, for teaching us the keys and the little secrets for the bikers. And we hope that we will see each other pretty soon. And
For
hope you're
sure.
enjoying your summer over there. We are for surely doing it here. And as we say, this was recorded on July. Right now, there will be the San Fermines in Pamplona, but we don't have the party. So hopefully one day we can invite you and have a blast here and discover the real Pamplona.
Of course. And thank you so much for inviting me to do this. This has been really fun. I love meeting other pilgrims and just even if this wasn't a podcast, just to have a Skype call with you and to chat about the Camino. It's been really good. I was a little bit nervous about it because I never know what the hell I'm going to say. You never know what's going to fall out of my face. It could be anything. And so,
that's one of the
it's
beauties
been
of this
really cool.
podcast is just, I always say to everyone, this whole idea of this podcast is the chat that we have at the bar at the end of the day, just to have it online so we can, interact with other people and the whole idea. So I don't plan anything. The only thing that is planned is those 3 questions, and whatever comes, it comes. And that's the beauty of
Well,
this, because
for everybody watching, if you are or listening, if you are on the Camino in September, we always stop at the first bar on the right. Every town we come to, the first bar on the right. So stop at the first bar on the right, and you never know. I might be in there having a coffee or a cerveza con limón, and I would love to chat with anybody. If I
that's
could meet
hilarious.
somebody who saw this, I would love it.
Because in Spain we have a famous song that says that the bathroom is always al fondo, al fondo a la derecha, at the very end, at the very end, at the very end of the right. So we will make a song for you guys, and the bikers are always at the right first bar. And it's true here. I don't know what is with bikers that you like bars, and that's the whole idea. I have a friend that he's on the older age, and he's like, biking and riding is my excuse to get out of home, get with my homies, get a drink and enjoy and keep healthy.
If it's in the morning, we stop for coffee. If it's in the afternoon, we stop for a beer. This is the reason to ride the bike, of course.
And a secret, you can have beer in the morning too.
I know, but that's hard on our American sensibilities. I have to be a little more Spanish and be flexible with that. I think you're right.
You can have coffee and you can have tea, and now you can even have vegan and all kind of food on the Camino. Now Camino's welcoming everyone, and that's the beauty of it.
Well, I think I'm going to have to start a new ritual and with the second breakfast, have a beer.
I think the second breakfast, it depends where you have your breakfast. For me, my second breakfast was usually at 9, but by 11, we were already in the pincho de tortilla and beer, because I'm like, you wake up at 6. Come on.
Okay.
It's fair.
For sure. We have breakfast a little bit later, and our second breakfast is usually 10 or 11. So yes, I think if you're having a beer at 11, I should have a beer at 11.
You have to remember that here in the north of Spain, when we do races and marathons, I'm like, you have a beer waiting for you at the end.
Oh, of course, always a beer waiting for you at the end. Yes.
I read research that is really good for your electrolytes and to recover for bikers and runners. So for pilgrims, it's perfect.
It's the second best recovery drink, beer. The first best is chocolate milk and then beer.
And a professional biker is saying that. So I'm going to write that and, set it into Wikipedia. So Kempton Baker said. Anyway, my dear friend, thank you so much. We hope that you have a blast during the summer and have many rides over there in the States, and hopefully we will join you once here in Spain.
For sure. We will take a selfie together in Pamplona when I get there in September.
And for everyone, if you need any help, we will put all the links to Kempton Instagram and Facebook, and you can ask him for anything, that you need. If you are someone looking for a trip, a biker's trip in Spain, and if you need any help, And if you need anything else, just
Of
contact
course.
us and we'll put you in touch with anybody and, any Camino pilgrim friend that will help you. Until
Yes,
then,
please, any questions? I'm
remember,
happy to answer any questions or hear any stories anybody has, please. It's
and
my
as we
favorite.
always say, buen camino, ultraya.
Buen camino, amigo.